let's talk Utah Jazz basketball because the Jazz are off again. Jake, is the Jazz season over?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess they just get a week off at a time now or something. I'm not really particularly sure like what they did or if they paid the league or whatever. But to have 4 days in a row off is pretty incredible.
Yep, Raptors in town tomorrow. OG Anunoby will not play. He is out, looks like 4 games at a minimum, which is going to hurt his trade value, obviously. He is one of the hottest names on the trade market. But there has been a lot of conversations around the Utah Jazz and Dorian Finney-Smith. And it's been interesting to hear all of this conjecture, this opinion.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Utah Jazz and NBA sources have told me that the Jazz are not particularly interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. He's 29 years old. He just signed a 4-year deal. And it's not a particularly heavy contract. It's $14 to $19 million. But he's 29 years old. He is a guy, in my opinion, and I know you watch quite a bit of the Mavericks as I do.
Right.
He's an okay three-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
He is a decent defender, but he doesn't do either at an elite level. And right now, if you make a deal for Dorian Finney-Smith, if you're the Utah Jazz, it would kind of be confounding. I would be confused by that. Because if you look at where the Jazz are right now, does Dorian Finney-Smith make this team a better basketball club for the next 5 years? He does not. And if you're going to give Malik Beasley or Mike Conley, and remember, we've been telling you now, Dallas and the Jazz have been talking for weeks about a deal. And I think in the next week, because the trade deadline's a week from Thursday.
Yeah.
In that next period of time, I think the Jazz and the Mavericks very likely will make a deal because the Mavs need Mike Conley or Malik Beasley or both, if we're being honest. But what do the Dallas Mavericks have that the Utah Jazz really need? Tim Hardaway Jr. ain't that guy. I'm telling you, Dorian Finney-Smith ain't that guy. And the Jazz, again, as I am told, are not banging down the Mavericks door to get Dorian Finney-Smith. He's not a guy that they are hot to trot to get.
Right.
Jake, I don't know that 1v1, Dallas has the pieces to make a deal with the Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dorian Finney-Smith is this guy that, obviously has a lot of playoff experience and can bring that to your club, but I don't think that giving up, some of your best trade value to get Dorian Finney-Smith makes a whole lot of sense. And yeah, 1v1, it doesn't really work. The Mavericks don't have a lot to offer. We're that's why the Jalen Brunson deal worked so well, because Jalen Brunson was this really valuable contributor that, you could clearly see would contribute at a high level, given that Luka wasn't on the floor and that could translate to another team. And that's why the Knicks did that deal. But I look at the Jazz right now, and I'm telling you, they are a match made in heaven for 3-team situations. They just are. You look at the money, you look at the pieces they have, you look at the other teams that want to be around, it just makes a lot of sense. And I also don't know why you would want to do business head up with someone that you're going to run into regularly, because that also has to at least be a consideration. I know we've talked all about, John Collins and Atlanta and Phoenix and in the Jazz. In that setup, okay, I'm okay with it because I'm getting a guy that's really going to contribute for the club for a long time, for the next 4 to 5 years. But Dorian Finney-Smith isn't some huge, great difference maker. Can he play great defense? Yeah, he can play some pretty good defense. Can he knock down a 3 here and there? Absolutely. But when you watch Mavericks basketball, if you go back on YouTube and you look at the Jazz and Mavericks series, Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't some huge, series-defining guy. That's not who he is. And I'm not even trying to hate on Buddy. I'm just saying, he's not that guy. So I'm not willing to trade away Threesley and Vando for a guy that's not going to be hugely difference-making.
Yeah, and I don't think that trade works, in my opinion, for the Jazz. I just don't see a lot of value in that. I'm not interested in and lower level draft picks, because any pick you get from the Mavericks, you would think would not have a ton of value because it's going to be at the bottom of the first round.
Yeah.
And I again go back to this idea that, listen, Dorian Finney-Smith signed a $55 million extension. The money's not the problem. The player's the problem. And when I look at the capital that you would get in return for sending out a guy, Malik Beasley, who still is one of the hottest names in the NBA as far as trades go, why am I going to do that particular deal head up with Dallas? That doesn't make sense. Now, are you willing to take Dorian Finney-Smith's contract? Sure. I'm willing to do that. Do I get Phoenix's first-round pick? Okay, great. Let's talk about it. Right? Is Jared Vanderbilt going to end up in Phoenix? And, like, I'm good with those deals. But the thing that really stands out to me is there are better deals for the Jazz to make. If I'm taking a contract in return, I'd much rather take Ayo Dosunmu's deal in Chicago. I'd much rather, like, those are the deals I want to make, right? You can't see Dorian Finney-Smith on this team in 3 years when they're competing for an NBA championship.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. And not at 33 years old at that point. He's not that guy. So I don't think that this deal that's being reported, I could see the Jazz and the Mavericks involved in a 3-team trade. That makes a lot of sense to me. I've heard repeatedly that that's the situation. I think we've been pretty spot on with our reporting on Dallas and the Jazz. I think Dallas, and again, I look at Mike Conley and Malik Beasley.
Yes.
I think those are their two most valuable trade chips that they are wanting and willing to move. Because I still maintain, by the way, that Ryan Smith does not want to trade Jordan Clarkson. And he is an emotional guy that gets attached to players as an owner. And, hey, you paid billions. Knock yourself out, kid. But what I'm telling you is it's a mistake to get emotionally attached to your players when you are rebuilding a roster.
Well, and what doesn't make a lot of sense is getting emotionally attached to those guys and then bringing Danny Ainge in to operate. Because Danny Ainge is the exact opposite. Danny Ainge is not going to come into a roster that was never his and then, trade these guys away to make it his. And then you're going to be, tweeting out, which just is stuck in my craw for whatever reason, about Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson. Like, it just is, it's not like that's young owner stuff. That's young owner energy. Like, experienced owner energy is never tweeting publicly or talking publicly about what you're doing with the club. Like, if you notice, most owners aren't talking about what they're doing with the club unless they're Dolan talking about, Madison Square Garden in facial recognition. To me, it's like, dude, come on. Like, let's
What were you doing, Jimmy Dolan? What were you doing?
You went to the gas station. You filled up your little tub full of 91. You rolled into the suite at Fox and you poured a bunch of gas on the fire. That's what you were doing. That's what you were doing.
It's absolute craziness. Yeah. But I think that, again, I will maintain and I will say what we've been saying for weeks. I think the Jazz have multiple trades out there. We reported yesterday that Jordan Clarkson, there's a deal on the table for Jordan Clarkson. Hey, we'll give you a first-round pick. Give us Jordan Clarkson. And I think, by the way, I think that makes a lot of sense. Listen, if Ryan Smith okays that deal, I don't know why you wouldn't make it. But I think certainly Mike Conley has a lot of value.
And it does
Mike
feel
Conley
like,
is in demand.
It does feel like Danny's got these deals kind of lined out, and he's waiting. He's sitting on them and waiting.
As he should.
And as he should. Totally. 100% agree. And I think that you have to wait and see what these other teams are actually, like, what is Rob Pelinka actually willing to do when it gets down to it?
What is Toronto willing to do? Because I think Toronto has become this club that has multiple pieces. I don't think there's any doubt Fred VanVleet wants to be traded.
I want it.
You can look at the way he's conducting himself, pure class, pure professionalism. That dude wants to be traded. Like, the things that he has said by not saying much about it at all, he's made that pretty clear. The problem is now with this OG Anunoby injury, he's going to be out probably a week, 10 days. That's right at the trade deadline. I mean, so you cast some doubt there. They're asking for 3 first-round picks for OG. They're not getting that.
No.
And then you look at guys like Gary Trent Jr., who I think fits on a multitude of clubs. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Phoenix Suns being interested in Fred VanVleet makes a lot of sense. I think it makes less sense for the Clippers to be interested in Fred because I also think he's injury prone. And they can't afford, when you look at where Kawhi Leonard is, and one of my NBA guys yesterday was saying, Kawhi Leonard's not a guy that wants to play until he's LeBron's age. Kawhi Leonard's not passionate about playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You got to win now with Kawhi. Because how long are you gonna have Kawhi and PG at this level?
Hey, Claw.
And how long and how much, how often, how easy is it to build a Kawhi Paul George tandem?
Yeah,
because that ain't easy. And the problem is they haven't been able to build around them.
Mm-hmm.
So do you go and make a move for a savvy veteran like Mike Conley, or do you go make a splash for a guy like Fred VanVleet? I'd probably go with Mike Conley, if we're being honest. I can manage Mike's load. Should probably do that in the locker room. But I can what I meant was, I can load manage Mike Conley into a playoff performer.
Well, and I think that, the way their team pans out, Mike Conley, putting him in the mix allows you to run better offense. And when you can get, you've, been hated on for saying that Paul George is, one of the best pure shooters in the NBA.
He is.
I agree with that. And I think that, when you have guys like that on your roster, your only mission should be to get them into their spot. Like, get them the ball in the spots that they like. That should be the mission.
And the other thing that I think people aren't looking at is there are some sleeping giants that you're not hearing a whole lot about. I'm telling you again, watch the New York Knicks. Watch the Knicks. What are the Knicks going to do? Because there's a couple of things at play here. One, that James Dolan interview last week that we shared
facial
with
recognition.
you. Dude, he's got to do something to win that back, because that is, by most accounts, that was a disaster for him.
Yeah.
That was not a good situation for James Dolan. Well, how do you do that? You make a big trade and curry favor with the public. That's how you do that. You solidify your roster. Like OG Anunoby, I think the Knicks are a great fit for OG Anunoby. I do. I think, and you have a guy that you can trade in RJ Barrett. I think the way, and again, this comes back to what we always talk about with the Knicks. Like, is Julius Randle the guy that he's been this year? Because he's been an elite power forward in this league this year. He's playing at 3 levels. Like, I think he is. Yeah. And I think if you're the Knicks, don't you have to go in all in right now?
Well, and you're going to get Mitchell Robinson back. You're going to solidify.
But I also think they need to trade. You can't. Hartenstein and Robinson is redundancy in my opinion.
Yeah.
I understand why you made those moves. I totally get it. Hartenstein was a nice pickup. I would look to unwind that a little bit. And sources had told us before this injury for Robinson with this thumb, he was available, and the Clippers were interested. So I think the Knicks are going. I feel like the Knicks are going to make a move.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
When you look at sleeping giants, man, I think the Lakers can make a course-changing move in the Western Conference. It's a matter of, is Jeannie Buss on board or is she not?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I might be making too much of it, I don't know. This situation in Boston the other night, I think that is going to wind up playing a role in the fate of the Lakers this year.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA owes LeBron and the LA Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
And let's watch tonight, because he didn't play last night in Brooklyn. Kyrie was unbelievable, by the way. He didn't play last night in Brooklyn. Make sure you watch the Laker game tonight, because he's going to play. AD and LeBron should play tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see what that looks like on the court. Let's see about the whistles they get. Let's see about
the whistles they get, and let's see about the whistles that they don't get that help them. Let's see.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. And it's Lakers Knicks. That game is at 5:30 on TNT. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm here for that, because
yeah.
I need to see. This is a game, by the way, that I think is a great matchup, because I'm a believer in the Knicks. Growing up watching Michael Jordan dominate, I was a huge fan of Patrick Ewing. I watched the Knicks a ton.
Well said.
I'm more of a Knicks believer than most people. I think Tibbs is a terrible coach, and I think RJ Barrett's soft. If they fix those two things in the next year, I think you are going to see that the Knicks are going to contend for the Eastern Conference in the next 3 years as well.
Please.
Because I love what Leon.
Won't.
I think
they won't.
I don't think they will either. I think that they will. I don't know. I'm not ready to say that because I'm actually in favor of what Leon Rose has done. He should have made the Donovan Mitchell trade.
Yeah, that's where. And again, every executive is going to have trades they miss on, right? So I don't want this. Yes, of course. I don't want Nick fan, who I'm sure is in here because we're talking Knicks, so I'm sure YouTube's pushing it, but I don't want Nick fan to roll into the live chat section and say, you guys just hate the Knicks, or you don't like the Knicks because Dolan is Dolaning.
Yeah.
Like, don't come in here and say that. What I don't like is that you didn't make the Don deal. But hey, I'll cut you some slack on that because every executive has deals that they didn't make that they wish they did, looking back. Everyone has that. Yeah. It just is what it is. So to me, now you're in a position, if you're Leon Rose and you're Dolan, to say, okay, we got to let that go. Right? We got to be willing to get back on the phone with Danny. We got to be willing to get back on the phone, with some of these teams around the league and make some progress. If I'm the Clippers and I want Mitchell Robinson and I'm calling the Knicks, I'm answering that call because I know for a fact that Vika Zubac is not good enough to be your centerpiece on a championship team. He's good enough to get you to the finals.
He's a role player.
But I don't think he's good enough to win you the finals.
But again, I look at Boston. See, I think Boston's a really good example of this conversation. Who's Boston's best power forward?
Robert Williams.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
And what I like about him is he's mean. Now, is he skilled enough? That's another conversation because I often wonder that. He's a bit of a brute, right? He's not somebody who's...
He's injury prone.
Yeah.
He is probably a guy that... Can you play him in small ball lineups? They're playing Grant Williams a lot at the power forward because Al Horford is an odd guy because he's your end of game scenario guy.
Al Horford is a young Udonis Haslem in the sense that he's leadership and he's going to play 10 minutes a night.
But I don't think they have a legit power forward. And by the way, how much do the Boston Celtics miss Marcus Smart?
Yeah.
My God. Tell me they don't miss Marcus Smart.
Yep.
Because
they do.
I think they're a different team without him. I don't know. We've debated Jaylen Brown on this show in the past. Is Jaylen Brown that dude? I'm him. Is he Burrowhead? Is he I'm him?
Is he Burrowhead?
Burrowhead Stadium, Joseph Lee Burrow.
Is Jaylen Brown that dude?
Know your role and shut your mouth.
I don't know if Jaylen Brown's that dude. Those free throws he missed the other night, they're in your head. Jeremy Bolton, good morning to you, friend. Good to hear from you. McKinley Cutler, why would you trade one Vernon like that? One Vernon. Who's contributing, one veteran, who's contributing with more than on the court performance for another vet that's less value to this young team? You're talking about Dorian Finney-Smith, I think. I would not.
No, I wouldn't.
I would not. Mike Chase, what's up, my friend? McKinley also says, makes no sense unless there was a first involved. I don't see why we don't just keep Conley because he's got value. He's got value.
He has value, but I think the deeper reason is he is aging out. He's not going to be here when you win a championship.
But to a team like the Clippers, and I know we've talked about this before, to a team like the Clippers, a guy like Mike Conley doesn't come with a huge price tag.
Mm-hmm.
A guy like Fred VanVleet, you're years into Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
You would hope anyway. That's the only reason you'd make that deal. A guy like Mike Conley, look at the culture in L.A. He fits with Paul George. He fits with Kawhi.
Yeah. He
fits with a guy like Ivica Zubac because he makes them all better.
Yes.
And he still knocks down the three well, and he still penetrates really well. And when you have a guy like Kawhi and Paul George that knock down the three, man, that makes a lot of sense.
And Mike is team first. Mike is not a me guy. Mike is not an I guy. Mike is team first, Yeah, and whether that's making the star players better or, just leading the team as far as getting them an offense, you understand that the Clippers haven't had that, right? Like the Clippers have had all this postseason success, right? And I know they haven't won championships and they're nowhere near the best team in the league, but they have had postseason success. You have won 7-game series. Like you've done some things here. But the reason you're not taking that next step is because you don't have the veteran point guard when you're down 5 with 3 minutes to go that says, okay, we can't get sloppy here. Stay in the set, work the offense, get PG at the elbow.
You don't have the point guard in John Wall or Reggie Jackson. And the biggest complaint about Reggie Jackson in LA has been the ball oftentimes doesn't wind up where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Like in the Jazz thing. you're in a close game and you're running post-ups for Rudy Gay.
Yeah.
You bring in Mike, and and granted, Mike was part of those post-ups as well. But Mike in LA is going to make sure that Kawhi and PG have the ball when the game's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And too often, Reggie Jackson and John Wall have not done that. And John's been injured. Reggie's hurt too. But Reggie Jackson's out of the rotation in LA, right? You're asking guys like Terrence Mann, frankly, to do a lot more on the ball. You're asking a guy like a Luke Kennard to do a lot more shit that they're not supposed to be doing. Excuse my French. Doing a lot more that they're not supposed to be doing. You need Mike Conley to come in there and say, give me the ball, I'm bringing it up. Let's run this set to get Kawhi that pin down screen, elbow jumper. Okay, we got our gimme bucket now.
Yeah.
Hey, let me break the paint, kick to Paul George on the elbow. He's going to knock down a three.
Yeah.
That's what this team has not had. And so I think that's why Mike Conley's of so much value. And he's on a non-guaranteed partial deal for next year.
So think about it. You had Conley, you had Mitchell Robinson. You're a different team now.
I think the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Dallas Mavericks are the teams I'd be watching for with Mike Conley. I think the Hawks, to a lesser extent the Hawks. I think the Heat, the Mavericks, and again, I will say, and I know everybody's telling me stupid, but I told you this last week about New Orleans with Malik Beasley. And all of a sudden now what yesterday got picked up by the national media. Oh, Mike Beasley, New Orleans. Like Malik Beasley, New Orleans. It's not surprising, right? Like there is this group of teams that we've been telling you about for a couple of weeks now. I'm telling you, Clippers, Lakers, Mavs on Mike Conley.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Mavs, Heat, New Orleans.
New Orleans would
Malik
like to
Beasley.
move Devontae Graham and Jackson Hayes. Those are the two guys that they would like to.
Problem is Jackson Hayes is a loose cannon. He's had issues off the court, and he has been kind of a locker room problem for them.
And he's headed for restricted free agency this offseason.
Yeah. And what does that tell you?
Yeah.
That's a young big that they don't want to extend.
Finally, can we make quick note, because we need to get to comments. Want to hear from you guys.
You mean take note?
How badass would it be if the Jazz somehow, not that it's ever going to happen, keep dreaming.
If you say, go ahead.
But if they were to get Bones Highland,
okay,
I would be thrilled with that addition.
But how does that, and again,
and I agree with you on this.
How does that happen?
Yeah, it's got to be. It's not head up. It would have to be.
He'd have to be rerouted.
Four teams, eight players.
To me, he'd have to be rerouted to the Jazz. But Bones is a guy. When he's hot. But when he's not, Bones is a guy. I'm telling you, man. If this team, God, dog, they'd have been close.
Yeah.
They'd have been close. Trey, what's up? Good morning. He says, Larry Pilgrim, thanks. I thought I was the only one for a second. Larry Pilgrim, what'd you say, man? I don't know what Larry said. Let's see. Ken Williams, good morning to you, sir. Hope you are warm. Dude, it is life-threatening cold.
Yeah.
In some of the northern states this morning. So Ken, be cool, man. I'm doing what I can to get Collins, a Collins-type player, without giving my superstars of the future plan of this team. I still maintain the Jazz are the best spot for John Collins.
Mm-hmm.
But that Phoenix deal falling apart, the Hawks, Jazz, and Phoenix had a deal. And Milwaukee has been so aggressive on Jay Crowder now that, this is 10 days of Milwaukee really pressing to get Jay Crowder. And if you wind up making that deal, I think that's a real loss for the Jazz, because you're going to have to go find another team, because Phoenix is likely not giving up a first-round pick in that deal. But if you're the Jazz, man,
yeah,
you want Phoenix's first-round pick.
Yep.
That's another. Danny needs to, at this deadline, get another first-round pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
That's the win. That's the marker at a minimum for me. That's the marker. Mesh, good morning to you. John Collins and Gary Trent Jr. seem like the best pieces to add. Gary Trent Jr. is a phenomenal defender.
But Toronto is a pain in the ass to deal with. That's the problem.
And does he fit the vaunted timeline?
The timeline.
He's kind of a role player.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he does. CM. Good morning to you, CM. Are you a first-timer here? I would love the Knicks to try go after OG depending on the price. Well,
yeah. I mean, listen, OG fits into a lot of different situations, right? Like, he's never been really a locker room issue. He's never been like some pariah or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that with OG. And you know that he's got great defense and his offensive game has really grown. And he's young enough. I mean, you're talking about a guy that you could add to, in CM's case, the Knicks. And he would do some things. He would easily be able to guard the other team's best player. He would, I believe he's good for like 15 to 20 a night on 20 on his good nights, more like, 15 on the average night. But the point is if you can add that defense, like if you can stop, 5 to 7 points a game from going for the other team, that's going to be a win right there for you.
Is he ever a 20-point-a-night guy?
In the right situation, yeah.
I mean, he has gotten better every single year.
I mean, it's a matchup thing, honestly, because when you look at Toronto, like there's not a lot, with all due respect to Pascal Siakam and, Van Vliet, like OG's one of their better players.
Yeah, he's a $20 million a guy at the end of this deal. Like, I mean, you owe him around $50 million, and that's a lot of money. If I'm paying a guy $18 million, and I mean, I know geographically speaking, Toronto to New York is not that far of a jaunt, but it's a different world. I mean, you get to the Garden and Jimmy Dolan's talking about facial recognition.
Yeah, dude.
Like what? And what do the Knicks give up in that deal?
Facial recognition.
I'm not giving up multiple first-round picks for OG. Sorry, dude. Like I don't think
3 is excessive. I could see 2 in the right situation.
I mean, he's only 25 years old, but he's a clutch sports guy, so you're
paying.
But you're not going to have to deal with that for 2 seasons. You're going to get this season and next season.
If you're the Knicks, how bad do you want to win, dude? How bad do you want to win now?
That's a really important.
If you're not willing to go and make deals like this now, when will you be ready to make those deals?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being
a good
honest,
question.
that's the difference. Like, that's the difference between teams that truly want to contend now and teams that are okay going to, like, the Eastern Conference Finals, right? That's the difference. Like, the difference is that you went over and above the cap, you spent the money, and you put a team together that really can come together and go on a run. I mean, that's how the league works. Because we've seen example after example of, hey, throw a team together and you're going to go and win championships unless, Dirk is on the other team and ended the Heat's dreams of winning a championship.
The problem, though, is do you want R.J. Barrett or OG Anunoby? Because I think R.J. Barrett's probably right now today a better player.
Yeah.
Right?
Certainly offensively, he's a better player.
Yeah.
Defensively, there's questions, in my opinion.
He's shooting 35% from 3 on his career now. I mean, like, that's not an accident.
No.
And I think RJ's been a better player the last couple of weeks, last month. But I don't know. I look at OG's probably a better 3-point shooter. You're in Toronto with about 1,000 options.
But here's the thing.
If you swap OG Anunoby and RJ Barrett, aren't they the same player?
No. I
don't think so?
I don't think they're the same player. I think RJ's a better offensive player and a subpar defensive player. I think that OG, you're essentially swapping mindsets. You're getting a guy in OG that can guard the other team's best player and make life difficult. And then he's going to give you, what is he averaging? 16 points a night. Like,
Yeah, but he's got so many options on that team, though. I mean, like, he's got to be like the 37th option at some point.
Yeah, and so on the Knicks,
you know what I mean?
That's why I say on the Knicks, I feel like he'd be good for 20. I really do. I feel like he'd be good for 20 and you'd upgrade defense. So to me, I'm saying I'd rather have OG than RJ, but Nick fan is probably going to go with RJ, and I understand
they should.
that. I understand that.
They should. Mapes, what's up? Good morning. Mike Maples, a member of the program, says, didn't Danny sit and wait too long on some trades in Boston? He did.
Yeah,
he did. But I also think the power structure is completely different here. I mean, it's Danny and Ryan Smith, and from what I've been told by Jazz sources many times, Danny's got the autonomy to do what he wants. I don't know that he can just pull a trigger on a Jordan Clarkson trade.
Yeah.
I mean, but any good owner is going to be involved in conversations with his...
Just that concept has me laughing. Well, I don't know that he could pull the trigger on a Clarkson trade, but you want to trade Beasley. go ahead.
But Ryan is an emotional guy that gets attached to his players. Like I mean, he has as much said that. But the funny thing is, he's not attached to Rudy or Don. He's attached to Jingles and frickin' Jordan Clarkson.
Why?
I don't know,
dude. Why?
It's amazing to me. I don't know. All of our NBA and Utah Jazz talk presented on the Monty Show by Quick Quack Car Wash, best in the business, dude. Bottom line is, you roll into Quick Quack Car Wash. They're quick, they're efficient, and the wash is actually really good. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes when we're looking at car washes. They're quicker, but is the wash better? At Quick Quack, you get an efficient process. You're in and out of there in 5 minutes, and people can't stop and won't stop checking you out.
Okay, guys, I'm going to tell you the secret to impressing my neighbors, the wife, coworkers, you name it. I just swing by Quick Quack. It seriously takes 2 minutes, and people can't stop, won't stop checking me out. Getting a clean car is definitely my best life hack. Kids are messy, camping's dirty, but my truck sure isn't.
That's my dude, man. Can't stop, won't stop checking me out at Quick Quack Car Wash. Check them out. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show as we talk Utah Jazz basketball. And if you're just tuning in, there's been a lot made about the Utah Jazz and how hot they are to get Dorian Finney-Smith.
My name is Luca.
Well, Luca wants a deal, and I think the Jazz and the Mavs quite likely will make a deal. I don't believe that Dorian Finney-Smith is a guy that the Jazz are chasing.
Yeah.
I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a pretty mid-level 3-and-D guy in this league. He's 29 years old, and he just signed a 4-year extension, and I'm not here for that. I think you can do better, and by the way, it doesn't matter what pick you get from Dallas. Is that still going to be better than a Phoenix first-round pick? Is that going to be better than a pick that, hey, I'm going to move Jordan Clarkson to Atlanta. I'm going to get a first and a second for Jordan. Like, it just doesn't make that much sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a guy like Beasley and Clarkson that are in demand, I think you can do better than Dorian Finney-Smith. So I don't see that happening head up. If Dorian Finney-Smith winds up wearing the note on his chest, I would guess it has to be in a 3-team deal, and Danny Ainge is going to get at least one first-round pick.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with the Jazz. They are off tonight, by the way, again. We believe, and we haven't confirmed this through sources, but the season came to an end because the Jazz haven't played in like a month.
Right, yeah.
So this must be like the summer break, right?
Yeah, that's stupid.
Jazz play tomorrow night against Toronto at Vivint Arena. Hey, don't forget, we're also trying to take you to a Utah Jazz game with us.
Yes.
On April 8th, the last home game of the year and the last game at Vivint Arena ever.
Yeah.
Before it reverts back to the Delta Center, which
the Delta Center
is amazing. But we're going to take you +1 to see the Jazz take on the Denver Nuggets. The Dad Bod God will be there.
Yeah.
Nugs and Jazz. You get 2 tickets. We'll buy you anything you want in the team store, and then we'll hang out and watch the game as the Jazz take on the Nuggets. In the last game ever at Vivint Arena, all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel, and we need to get to 11,000 subs. Now, yesterday was a pretty good day on this channel for subs. Our meteoric rise to 10,000.
Yeah.
We are now at 10,206.
Mm-hmm.
So we picked out about 40 subscribers yesterday, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's keep getting your comments here on the NBA. McKinley Cutler. Also, just to clarify, I think the Jazz should trade Mike. I just don't think the Mavs have anything that the Jazz want. It would have to be a 3-team deal, in my opinion.
name is Luca.
Well, they're not trading Luca for Mike, so I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
Brandon Butler, a member of the program, says Ryan is smart to let Danny operate. Danny can convince Ryan to do what is needed.
Well,
I think he can. Brett Robbins says they are checking your truck out, not you. What do you mean they're checking my truck out? I do have a nice car. That's unfair. CM says RJ is a far better slasher and a better playmaker, but a worse defender by a good margin.
yeah, I agree with that. I think RJ is a better offensive player right now in his career. But I think the problem is, and this isn't to say RJ sucks, but I feel like he's lacking that top end offensive ability that makes him untradeable. That's the thing that I feel like right now.
I feel like RJ Barrett's soft. That's
Yeah, he
to me.
is.
RJ Barrett's soft, and I know Nick fans got all pissed off. We talked about this over the summer.
You just hate RJ. You're an RJ hater.
I'm just telling you, man. That's just the way I feel about it. Eddie Lozano, San Antonio real estate. Did you sell Jordan Clarkson his new house? New Big 12 schools will join in July. They will. Congratulations. That is a widely known fact. Ken Williams says Rudy Gay sucks. Too slow, can't shoot, running stats for him, and 23 wide open just standing there. Gay can't shoot anymore.
Oh, my God.
Plays horrible
dude.
defense. What value does he bring? Hey, man. I'm not saying that he does. I'm not saying that Rudy Gay brings value to a playoff team.
Bro, I like how he refers to Laurie as 23. Hey, douche, 23 is wide open in the corner. Give it up.
Hey, idiot, pass it to 23. The finisher.
You fucking donkey.
That's why Ken Williams is amazing. I love it. I feel your vitriol towards Rudy Gay, Ken. Severe, what's up? He goes, get a fourth first round equals potential star player. Ding.
Yeah.
Even if they don't trade them this year, potentially you get a good young player that you can trade later for a star player. Well,
Again, yeah, philosophical thing.
What did Lopes fan Gabe say
Yeah.
yesterday? All these assets are great, but at some point, a player's got to be made to win a game. And draft picks don't win games. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Anton, a member of the program, says Toronto wants 3 first-round picks for OG. Yeah, they do.
And I just don't think they're going to get that. This is very much the 2 first-rounders for JC thing. Like, you're going to ask above market with 10 days or 9 days to go before the deadline so that you can negotiate down. It's the age-old top-down selling, hey, we're going to come to the middle on 2 first-rounders. Like, that's what it is.
By the way, LeBron James is 117 points short of the all-time scoring record.
And allegedly has, a high level of ankle discomfort currently.
Get out of here. Yeah, that's only because you were pissed at the NBA. And he wants to play at the Garden. That's why he didn't play in Brooklyn. And that happens a lot to Brooklyn, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you play the Knicks and the Nets on back-to-backs.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to play at Brooklyn. You're going to play in the Garden. So that's not surprising at all, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think, how big of a deal is this thing with LeBron breaking this record? Because I think it's a big deal. He's 117 points away.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
I want to watch him break that record.
There's no question it's historical. I mean, I love these people who come in and they're like, oh, well, it's Bron. I don't care. It's
How can you not care?
Like, I get it if you're not a Bron person, if you're not a Bron fan. I'm not even a Bron guy. Like, I'm a Michael and Kobe guy. But I am is someone who respects, historical achievements. I mean, you're talking about someone who is about to break the all-time scoring record and likely someone who is going to set a record that will never be broken. I mean, you guys understand that this guy has essentially been bulletproof in his career from an injury standpoint, outside of a couple blips on the radar, and that's allowed him to do what he's done.
If LeBron wants to break that record at home,
at crypto,
he is 117 away. If you break that down, he would have to average 30 points a game in the next 4 games to break it against Oklahoma City. If he wants to do that at home, he could do it in 5 games, which is just 23.4 points a game.
He's going to do it against Milwaukee on TNT. You know that.
You said that yesterday, too.
You know that.
And it makes more sense to do it on national TV.
Why would you not do it on that? Like, dude, let's not be naive here. Like, I know that Bron is no Michael Jordan, but he'll do, right? Like, I know that Bron is, not everyone's cup of tea, but this guy is smart, man. This guy is savvy. He will do it against Milwaukee at crypto on TNT. Guarantee it.
117 points to go. That's crazy. Brett Robbins says it took him 150 less games than Kareem. That's what makes it impressive. I think he just makes it impressive.
Yeah.
Hunt2 says, Monty, when LeBron passes Kareem, do you guys think he's the GOAT? We've got to stop doing this. You can't compare Michael to LeBron.
Yeah.
Because that LeBron foul the other night in Boston, or it wasn't a foul, excuse me. The LeBron no foul in Boston.
Yeah, where they swallowed the whistle at the most crucial point in the game.
That was not a foul in 1989.
No.
That was garden variety basketball.
Yeah.
The era is so different. LeBron gets so much more protection than Jordan ever got.
They'll drop that mother.
It's a different game. I truly believe Mike would average 40-something points a game right now. If he played in his prime today, Michael Jordan would be the unquestioned single greatest professional athlete we've ever seen because of the way they officiate the game today.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to compare Michael and LeBron.
Why can't we just sit here and be like, yeah, this is cool. This is really cool.
And I also think if you're going to compare guys, it's Kobe and LeBron. And I don't think there's a comparison. Kobe was a far better player. I've watched both of them. And for those of you that are new to the show, I covered Kobe and Shaq in L.A. with Phil and that run to those three-peats. And
yeah.
Kobe Bryant was a far more dynamic player than LeBron is. They did it completely differently. Kobe was a much more gifted shooter than LeBron is. But Kobe just has that assassin's mindset. LeBron's a great player.
Yeah.
And I will sit here and say it until I'm blue in the face. Appreciate greatness when you have it. Because what you're watching with LeBron is greatness. What you are watching with LeBron is unparalleled. Unparalleled. We've never seen a guy do what he's doing like this before.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Love it. Watch him tonight. Watch him at the Garden tonight, 5:30. Watch LeBron. Watch him every night. Make sure you do not miss the game where he breaks that record. I would give anything to be at crypto when that happens.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, watch the guy because you know. Anyway, Eric says break the record at the Garden.
Nah.
No. Anton says the last time KD and LeBron played against each other was in December 25th, 2018.
Yep.
KD's had a lot of injuries, dude. Chaboy is struggling.
Yeah.
He'll be back after the All-Star.
I don't know that he's struggling. I think he's chilling. I think he's resting.
Yeah, he's just not
which is
healthy.
Smart. Yeah.
It's not healthy. It reminds me of when Emmett broke Walter's record. It's a big deal. Yeah, I remember one of the greatest moments of my childhood was watching Walter Payton break that record against New Orleans at Soldier Field in the snow. Bright sunshine day and snow. It was awesome. It was awesome. Let's see. He doesn't need explosive athleticism. That's what he doesn't have explosive athleticism.
He's talking about RJ.
Yeah, well, I think he's soft. Brett Robbins, come on. See, and you guys listen. I think you know how much we care about each of our listeners. Cocaine use this early in the morning, man, you
My
can't.
name is Luca.
Brett, you can't be.
Yeah, dude, you got to chill out, man. Like
You can't be bumping rails at 7:45 in the morning.
Fucking A.
Because when you say things like Luca's
Come
the
on,
GOAT,
dude.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
hallucinogens do bad things to your brain, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Jeremy Bolton says MJ would go 41-42 from the line every night he would.
Yep.
Yes, he would.
Yep.
That's exactly right, Jeremy.
Yep.
I mean, he would live at the line. Live at the line. Like Donnie. Donovan Mitchell makes his bread and butter at the line. Ken Williams, I don't care about LeBron. Could care less what he does. I love the no call to see the crybaby Lakers whine. Wow. Wow. Brett Burnett says, hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. We've had just about 1,000 viewers on the program.
Right, the program.
And we are at 78 likes right now. So let's kick that into high gear, yo. Yo.
Yeah.
CM says 150 less games and the advent of the three ball. Exactly right.
Wow, that's a great point. Yeah.
That's why I said you can't compare across generations.
Yeah.
Because what Magic and Larry did in the 80s, what Mike did in the 90s, what Kobe did in the early 2000s, the game's completely different.
Yeah.
It's just completely different. Brett Robbins says, do you guys think MJ would have upped his 3 game? Yeah, at the end of his career, he upped his 3 game. I think he absolutely would have. Jeremy says, I'll watch LeCarron break the record in both points and tears. Love it. Love it. Anthony Kobe says, LeBron is the best athlete, size, skill, and IQ to play in the NBA, but he ain't no Kobe or Jordan.
It's just different, dude. It's different.
Yeah, he is a free safety playing guard forward in the NBA. I mean,
Yeah.
you got a great point there. Football 50 in 2 minutes. Kenai Johnson right now says, so is it the rings that makes you the GOAT or the all-around game?
I think it's total package.
Yeah,
dude.
Michael Jordan just was. I'm really lucky that I got to see all 3 of these guys play in person. When you look at Michael Jordan as a basketball player. He struck fear into people's hearts. Like, he terrified people. Like, these stories about, again, the LeBradford Smith game in Washington. Like at the old Chicago Stadium, LeBradford Smith had a career night, and Michael Jordan really struggled to shoot the ball well. And Michael Jordan says that LeBradford Smith walked up to him, put his arm around him, and said, "Hey, good game, Mike," and then walked off. Well, the problem for LeBradford was they played back-to-back. And they played the next night in Washington, and Jordan went
medieval on your ass.
berserk. And just kept saying, hey, nice game, Mike. Well, I'm going to show him. And just absolutely demolished the Washington then Bullets at the time.
Yeah, dude.
And then was asked about it after the game, and Mike's like, yeah, I made it up. He never said that. That's who Michael Jordan was. Like, the guy is just a killer. People feared him. People respected him. Like, you just don't have that. I'm telling you, you just got to stop making that comparison. What's up, Riley O'Brien?